Why is the product backlog like Tetris? Similar to Tetris, when you're working on a product backlog, you have new items coming in, you have a limited amount of space, and there's also a timely manner in which you need to clear specific items. Hello and welcome back to Tokyo PM. Today, I wanted the opportunity to talk to you a little bit more about why the product backlog is similar to a game of Tetris. Now, I've recently joined my new team, and in the team, we have a set backlog, but it has been my responsibility to add items to the backlog, go through what exists in the backlog, and see which ones we need to clear at the same time. And for a while, I was thinking, here, let me start playing. So I've been thinking about, how do I understand what the priority is when it comes to what goes into our backlog? Now, I will admit I'm not very good at Tetris, but the idea came to me that each one of these squares could be thought out as a user story. And when you're looking at a user story within a sprint, you try to do a certain amount of user stories within a sprint, which can be captured in what's called story points. Now, in terms of story points, this is what you work together with your team to understand what is the capacity of your engineering team and how many story points that you can complete at a time. So for example, this width is, so here you've got 10 squares horizontally. And so you could say that this is equivalent to 10 story points. And so in one sprint, I can complete 20 story points as an example. Now, when you're working, I'm not very good at this. Now, when you're working together with your team, one thing that you want to focus on is, what items do you have in the backlog? And so you need to make sure that the items that are coming into your backlog, the new items that you're requesting, are what should be worked on at that time. So as the PM, your responsibility is very much what's in this next column here on the right, because the next column is where you're saying to your team, hey, these are the items that are coming next. These are the ones that you should keep an eye out for. But at the same time, you're working on what's existing in the current backlog. Now, you have a set of shapes that need to fit together perfectly to create a product. You need to consistently prioritize and adjust the backlog, just as you would need to rotate and move just as you would need to rotate and move the items of Tetris. Because if you don't prioritize and adjust your backlog, no, just like that. If you don't prioritize and adjust your backlog, your product will quickly become unmanageable and fall apart. It is important to stay focused, to keep adjusting. I can make this work. It's important to stay focused and keep adjusting. Clearly, I'm not very good at Tetris, but let me just use it to make more. So, it's important to stay focused, to keep adjusting, and to keep moving forward to create a winning product. As a product manager, it's important to keep in mind that the backlog is not just a static list of tasks, but a living document that needs continuous attention and refinement. Oh, I'm not very good at this game. So just like in Tetris, you need to be proactive in selecting the right shape user story at the right time and fit it in the right place. This requires a deep understanding of your product vision, business goals, user needs, as well as a good sense of prioritization. Moreover, just like Tetris, you need to be aware of the potential gaps or holes in your backlog and make sure that those are filled in a timely manner. These gaps may arise from incomplete or unclear requirements, similar to what can be seen here, technical debt, or dependencies on other teams or products. As a product manager, it's your responsibility to work very closely with your team and stakeholders. To identify and address these gaps and to make sure that the backlog is always clearable. Finally, just like in Tetris, you need to keep a balance between speed and quality. While it's important to move fast and to deliver value for your users, you'll also need to ensure that your product is built on a solid foundation. This requires good collaboration between the product, engineering, and design teams and a shared commitment to excellence. Also, on top of this, when you start working as a product manager, this will very much be your responsibility as a junior P. So when you join the product management team, your expectation would be, hey, get familiar with what our priorities are, get familiar with what the backlog is, and provide some items that the team can start to clear. However, you'll notice as a junior PM, it can be confusing on, I don't know what the team needs to be working on. I'm not gonna, oh, okay. So don't be a PM like the way that I play Tetris. I'm clearly not good. Okay. So the point that I want to make today, clearly I'm not very good at Tetris. Don't, don't, please don't judge me based on my Tetris ability. But the point that I'm trying to make today is when you're looking at a product backlog, when you're definitely you're going to be the one that's responsible to work together with your engineering team to clear the backlog. So you might already have some items on the backlog that you get to work together with your team to clear. However, you will also have items that you need to now start adding. And so, as I discussed, your responsibility will be to address what's in the next up column. But the next up column, that shouldn't be random, right? That shouldn't be just, oh, this shape, and let's see what fits to keep the backlog going. But you're going to notice that you need to very clearly define what is the next shape that your engineering team can see it come down the game, adjust it into the backlog, say, hey, this is how it fits. And so the way that you do that is now you start thinking about, okay, well, what are the priorities? What do the stakeholders want? What is our OKRs and North Star metric, etc.? What objectives are we trying to accomplish by the task that we're doing? And in doing so, each user story will build up to accomplish what's coming in the next step column. Now, this compounds. So if you start working together with your team and you're working together on trying to fill up trying to complete what's in the next column, you then start gaining momentum, right? You then start gaining what's called velocity. And that means that your team is starting to be able to handle these story points at a good rate. And now, probably, honestly, the most limiting factor would be you as the PM and what you can give to your engineering, because you can have a lot of times where maybe spec needs to be redefined or something needs to be clarified or there's some internal process that's going on. And so what happens is your engineers sit idle trying to think of something to do. So as you scale up as a PM, it's similar to a game of Tetris. You start slow. You might have a backlog already. If not, you start filling items in, slotting it together with your team. But at the same time, it's your responsibility to make sure that things keep coming into the backlog so that your engineers do have something to work on, or work together with your engineers to understand what do you want to work on and make sure that that all slots in. Now, as you saw when playing the game, if there's a miss, that can be detrimental, but it doesn't mean that you can't clear the row. It just means that that'll sit at the bottom until the row can be cleared. So there's a little bit more processing to be done. But this framework of thinking of the product backlog as a game of Tetris has actually helped me understand, okay, this is my responsibility. This is what I'm trying to do to work together with the team. And so it gives a little bit more of a bigger picture when it can feel like chasing after each task or each point of clarification can be a little bit overwhelming. So think of your product backlog as a game of Tetris, and that's a good place to start. All right, I'll catch you in the next one.